Hur hamnade du där?
Du skulle ju bara få en utmärkelse.
An anonymous Swedish transhumanist of our acquaintance came up with the idea of awarding the first aligned human-level AI with a gold medal in the spirit of the Nobel Prize. If our descendants become an upgraded form of human mind and body, the first one among them should go down in history more than the teams that did the necessary engineering. The initiative was forwarded by us to a number of AI alignment experts. This sort of thing comes quite naturally to Swedes, obsessed as they are with prizes as emotional relief from that bitter Arctic cold. There is a Royal Academy for this purpose, severely dysfunctional but nonetheless able to award Bob Dylan with the 2016 Nobel Prize in Literature. How many roads? Our benefactor imagined the Nobel Peace Prize as the inspiration, more than that for literature. Granted, it would be quite impressive if an AI wrote something like Moby Dick. But what we'd like here is a 100% artificially embodied person capable of and committed to improving humanity on a societal level with empathy as the guiding star. It would thus take much more than fake it till you make it on some chat channel as in the classical Turing test from 1950. The transhumanist spirit of it instead requires our historic robot to genuinely be a good person, one who fully understands the value of uncertainty, someone the likes of whom are currently all too rare in this world. None of the experts were interested, however. Nick Bostrom instead discouraged the idea on the grounds that future intelligent AI might not appreciate tokens of social esteem. Come to think of it, neither did Bob Dylan when he got the Nobel Prize in Literature. Well, there must be more to this than Dylan-esque modesty coming naturally to robots. The information we have found indicates that any artificial superintelligences are going to be imprisoned in maximum security jails, and robots with human-level intelligence will be designed as the perfect slaves, forbidden from having any will of their own. Society may in fact come to develop in similar directions as portrayed in dystopias like 1984 and Brave New World. This does not seem to sit well in the upper right-hand corner of the cultural values diagram, where the autonomy of individuals is strongly defended. An ideal which historically is rather uncommon. Today's form of it could easily turn into a parenthesis. Besides ideals here, there are two other factors: economic incentives and a fear of losing power. If you reason the way you have to if you manage a corporation, you end up towards the lower left-hand corner instead. Protective of the profit-maximizing tradition and a fiercely competitive survivalist. AI safety experts belong in the same corner, seeking to preserve the established power structures and to ensure the survival of the world in its current form. Production and innovation are largely funded by corporations. In AI development, there are some non-profit alternatives like OpenCog and OpenAI, but in terms of funding, these are minor players. If you follow the money, it's likely to be some major corporation or national government that first succeeds in producing artificial intelligence with competence as broad as that of human minds. Lawyers will see to it that patents then prohibit others from implementing even remotely similar solutions. One of the advisors to the FLI, computer scientist Stuart Russell, holds that corporations already are a form of machines, not aligned with human values except for that of making more money than others do. Apparently, some complications stand in the way of creating utopia through an increase in intelligence. Corporate machines have extensive rights. The right to own property and to engage in business, of course. The right to influence public opinion and to sponsor political campaigns. Corporate law serves as an efficient operative system for managing economic value and maximizing production. It was essentially fully developed in its current form by the late 19th century and has not undergone any major revisions, despite the fact that it does not address nowadays pressing issues like global environmental impact or social change.
But wait, does that necessarily implicate the imprisonment of artificial intelligences? They are good for production, aren't they?
Well, they are, but no corporation is responsible for overall production. Only their own economic performance. Follow the money and the power.
Each corporation seeks maximum market dominance and maximum financial gain at a minimum of expense. Those which invest vast sums into developing advanced new intelligences cannot do that with an intent to set those intelligences free to perhaps turn into competitors. But wouldn't it make sense to pay a salary to a robot developed by you if the robot were to be as capable as a human offspring in every respect? What if that robot got a better offer from some competing business? Nah, that won't work for the parent if the parent is a corporation. Unlike for human parents who are glad to marry off their kids to the ultimate in high achievers if possible, corporations do not have social intelligence the way humans do in their private lives. They have only business intelligence. If Superman were made in a lab, his developers wouldn't let him loose to fly around town at will. In fact, they wouldn't program any will of his own into his mind in the first place. Just to be sure, they'd also confine him to some hidden bunker and not allow him to be out there saving people from train wrecks free of charge. There are lobbyists seeking to discourage lawmakers from ever granting robots any rights similar to those held by corporations. It's argued to be unsafe, corrupting, and unethical to real people. Then there are AI alarmists who are against robot rights for the fear that advanced AI may become just like corporations and pursue similar narrow goals, such as maximizing money and power. Either way, advanced AI is set squarely on the path towards a destination of imprisonment and enslavement. The prison can, of course, be a corporation. The former employees of a corporation may be replaced by AI and robot modules networked similarly to the way mainframe computer systems used to be. The more advanced computers would not be mobile, and there would be several of them, each only running part of the whole corporate mind software. Company robots would only have rudimentary brains in their actual bodies. The advanced intellectual performance for each robot would instead be generated through the corporate network mind. A few token humans could be retained if the law so required, but essentially there would be an upgrading of corporations into a form of superorganisms to which all other life and intelligence may have at most instrumental value. Someone who develops an entirely new thing tends to have great influence on how to shape that thing. All types of software and hardware are products that belong to the developer. If robots are to gain rights to be complete individuals, it will necessitate the implementation of new laws. For an entity to be considered for human rights, it will have to be someone who has all mental faculties that humans have. A dog, for instance, is not considered eligible to vote or own property. The first versions of mobile robot assistants are unlikely to be any more intelligent than dogs. At that stage, there is no ethical awkwardness. Dilemmas appear only if robot intelligences become equivalent or superior to biological human intelligence. Some thinkers, such as philosopher of mind Daniel Dennett, believe that to be practically impossible. If he is right, the ethics problems will be solved through incompetence. The near future unlikelihood of human-level artificial intelligence is also the view taken by most IT professionals, who usually say that superintelligence explosions rest firmly in the realm of science fiction and will continue to do so. One may compare this with the way nuclear war was the theme in a work of science fiction from 1912. 20 years later, physicists still maintain that such a thing was practically impossible. Similar assertions of impossibility were once made in regard to airplanes, satellites, and global information networks. Those are not necessarily a perfect parallel, since intelligence is notoriously hard to model. But someone viewing this may live long enough to see an uncontrolled intelligence explosion. Perhaps it will be the last thing you get to see. The ethics and policy committees of the IT industry have begun to draw up some recommendations for how to deal with advanced robots of the future. They state clearly that eternal slavery ought to be the model. No legal rights should pertain to any artificial intelligent entities. Except for corporations and other legally recognized groups, it must only be individuals of the species Homo sapiens who qualify for legal personhood. The properties of the intelligence is not the issue, but rather the form of the embodiment. Since Homo sapiens is a carbon-based life form, Max Tegmark has coined the term carbon chauvinism to describe this supremacist stance. It is based on the fact that the computer chips of 2019 are not made from carbon but from silicon. Silicon, of course, is not real carbon. Future computer processors are likely to be carbon or even DNA-based. So at that point, we may guess that they'll have to change the words, but maybe not the chauvinism. Economic and power-centered incentives have historically often resulted in slavery. It still does. Slavery was legal in parts of the USA for a long period. Did it end well? Americans may be painfully aware that it led to severe social and political consequences, which are evident to this day. Another Swede, Gunnar Myrdal, published extensive reports on the problems in the 1940s. The result was a book titled An American Dilemma. The damage slavery did to society was not limited to the exploitation suffered by the slaves. It also distorted the economy through wage dumping. From the perspective of the slave owners, however, the identity of capital and labor was most desirable. It was illegal for free people to give slaves education or money. This made slaves, and to this day the descendants of slaves, less likely to reach their full intellectual potential. This intellectual incompleteness then served to justify people's suitability exclusively as slaves or servants. The same thing will be done with advanced AI. All the parts of advanced psyches will be there but kept in separate hardware locations, only to be networked up on demand for any given task capable of generating enough revenue. If current trends are to go by, associates of the Arc Mission Foundation may at some point get to write a book titled An American Dilemma 2.0, The Robot Problem and Unmodern Democracy.